Hello and welcome to the fourth video of making a matrix style animational widget. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at what we're making in this project. Okay, so remember this project is combining plugin with a widget. So this is our widget front end, and this is what we were going to be creating today, the front end of it. In the last video, if we go to the appearance and the widget section, we created the form on the back end. So that was the last video. So today we're going to finish this up by completing our update method in this widget. And then we're going to be working on the front end. So that is what we're going to be doing today, and that is the project that we're going to be trying to complete. So our big aim is to create, finish the widget class and focus on the front end. We're going to do this by completing these 5 tasks. So we're going to be using that shortened if statement that we used in our last video. We're going to be making a basic HTML for our front end section. We're going to be using a bit of JavaScript just kind of to push those PHP instant variables onto a JavaScript array, so we can use it in JavaScript. And we're going to make sure that we can validate our backend method. So we're going to use our update method to validate our backend data. And then we're going to create a new array and add the values from the setting data to the front end. So these are the tasks. Again, if you would like the code that we made from the last video, look at the bottom of the screen and you'll be able to get a link to have that code so you can code along with us. Okay, so this is our matrix folder. We are going to be working in the widget class, so we need to make sure that we open the widget file in the includes folder. So we open that up. This is the templated widget class that we got from that WordPress website. What we have to do first is create a widget function with those 2 values that we're going to be setting for default. So do remember that the first one that we used, that was for the back end, and there's the update one. Oh, there you go. I couldn't find it for a moment. Sorry. So yeah, here we go. This is the widget. So remember, the widget is the front end. This is the thing that we're going to be working on first. What we want to do is make sure that the 2 values that we have, those 2 phrases that we have, that there's always something in those phrases. So we're going to be adding an if statement to check that there's a value in there, and if there isn't a value, we're going to put a value in it. So we want to put that inside the instances. We can get rid of this because we're not going to have a title value. We're going to have some phrases. So we're going to have phase 1 or phrase 1, and it's going to check this argument, this condition, checks to see if the instant array has the phrase position. So it's checking to see if there's a value within that position. If there is a value, it's going to assign this onto that variable. If not, it's going to assign this onto that variable. Do remember this escape HTML, that is escaping, it's just removing any invalid characters, because we're going to be using this code to put onto our front end to be used. Okay, so the escape HTML WordPress function just allows us to clean up the text data that we're going to be using. And do remember that this data is going to be stored in the same domain, so we have to make sure that all of these domains link up. And I've done the same thing with the second variable. I've just changed the position of the instances, so all of our values will be passed through using this instance array. So that's a key piece of information. So that is the first task done. So we've created 2 if statements to make sure that there is some values in our variables. Now what we need to do is we need to create the basic HTML. So remember, like I said before, these echo before and after widget. This allows WordPress to customize your widget so it fits into your theme. Okay, so we're not going to mess around with that. We're going to put our code in between. So our code is just a simple it's just a simple container. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to be echoing a simple container for our HTML. Now the problem with this is you could close PHP and then just operate on a HTML, or you can echo it. I've just echoed it because it's quite a short piece of code. So what I've done is I've put one class and I've put container, and I've put another class that we'll be using for our text. So that's all that we need for the HTML, because everything else is going to be used in JavaScript and CSS. So that is task 2. Now what we need to do is we need to put these phrases, these PHP variables, into JavaScript. So again, I'm going to I need to create a echo, because we're still operating in PHP, and then I'm going to create a script there. And then this script, what this will do is first it will create it'll create an array, and I'm going to call this array titles. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be Okay, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be creating an array and then pushing these PHP values onto that JavaScript array. And we're going to be using that array later on. But for now, that's all we need to do for that task. Okay, so we've done our first 3 tasks. So we've created an if statement to make sure that there's no default. We've created the front-end class, and we've added the JavaScript. Now what we need to do is create the update function that is used to validate the backend. Okay, so if we go to the update, we've got this update here. Mostly it's already done for us. That's the beauty of the template. So we have this update method already attached. The first line creates a new array. So what we're going to be doing is when we click on the form in the backend and save it, those values go into the new instant array. And then all we need to do is use click or find the position or find the field. So for us it's going to be phrase 2 or phase 3 in the new instance position, and attach it to our new array, and then return that new array, because only one array is going to be returned. So we need to put multiple items within that array. Now you can do quite a lot with that. You can make a condition that says maybe only add it to this array if the value is greater than 10 characters or less than 10 characters or is a string. So there's a lot of code that we could put in here to add validation, but I'm going to make it quite simple. What I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to do the same thing as we did here, which is create a new array, strip any tags, so anything that could clean any HTML or PHP tags that could disrupt it. We can clean all of these away, and then we're going to just add it to this instance, and then we're going to put it in the same position. Has to be in the same position. And again, going to put it in the same position, and then this returns it. So I haven't even checked that it is empty, because every time we do this form, we check these three values anyway. So I haven't added an if to check it's empty, because I've put it in each of these spaces. So I potentially could have done it in a different way and done these kind of checks down here, but it's too late now. I'm going to keep the way it is, and I'm going to say that I have completed my update function, and I've created a new array, added the values from the setting data to it, and I have returned it. So I have done all 5 tasks, and I've actually completed my widget class. There's nothing I need to do now within the widget and the PHP. Everything else now will be CSS and JavaScript. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to tidy up the comments a little, because they're not my comments. So I'm going to have the update function there, and I'm going to have the form function there, and I'm going to have the widget function there. So I'm going to save it. Oh, and I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to save that now, and there are all the tasks for this video. Okay, so concept checking questions. So if you can answer all these questions, then I feel confident that you've understood what we covered today. So pause the video and try and answer all these questions. Hopefully you've paused the video and answered them. Let's go through them. So what are the steps to push the data through the update method? Well, first we need to initialize an array, so we have to create a new array. Then what we need to do is doing some sort of validation. So for us, that's stripping all the HTML and PHP tags from the value before inserting it in to the array. I actually missed step 3, which is making sure that you insert it in the same position. So for us, we're inserting them in phrase 2 and phrase 3. So it was the same position in the old array and the new array. And then the 4th one is returning an array. Where should we put our HTML code? You need to put the HTML code, use HTML, so you put the HTML code within after the before widget and before the after widget. So we need to use HTML to create not fields for our form, but from the front end. And then what WordPress functions you use to clean a value of all HTML and PHP tags. You can use that strip tags, and it strips all of the HTML and PHP tags to make sure that that value is clean. Again, very important when you're doing the update is to make sure that the old positioning and the new positioning in the array are the same. I keep on repeating that point. And the last one, how do you put the PHP values into a JavaScript array? Well, what we've done for this one, if you're doing any JavaScript in our widget, in our PHP class, I have done echo, and I've again initialized a new array, and I've called it title. At the moment I've used var because of I'm not sure about the scope quite yet. I mean, as I go along I may change that due to scope and where we want to call it from. But despite that, we still do the next similar thing. So we have the titles, which is our array, and we're saying we're pushing this value, which is a PHP value, and you can see here I've closed off the quotations, I've added the dot, and then that's the PHP value. I've added another dot, and then I've opened up the PHP again, and the same thing there. So I'm going to save the code that we did today in the GitHub, and you can have a look at all the code that we've created. If you want to use it and play around with it, feel free to do that. If you're interested in what we do next, please subscribe, and I'll keep you updated on the next video. Thank you very much.